To think the amount of money that Pornhub has made off of my trauma, date rape, and sexual exploitation makes me sick to my stomach. As stated in the New York Times article that I mentioned, I too feel like Pornhub has become my human trafficker.
Here are 3 rapid-fire facts you need to know about pornography. Number 1, average age of first-time exposure is between 11 and 12 years old. Fact number 2, 90% of teens and 96% of young adults are either encouraging, accepting, or neutral when they talk about pornography with their friends. Number 3, only 43% of teens believe porn is bad for our society, and that's compared with 31% of young adults, 51% of millennials, 44% of Gen Xers, and 59% of boomers. So a lot of the messaging in the culture is just that, well, it's harmless. Even sex work is empowering. It's a healthy way to learn about sex. It's just entertainment. It's just for fun. It's a stress relief. There's nothing wrong with it. So why talk about it? We are living in a pornified culture, and I just kind of want to explore that concept. I want to explore what could be some of the downsides of living in a pornographic culture. Here is a clip of Pastor Vodi Bakum describing this concept of a pornified culture.
So one thing that I say to people in this area is that we need to recognize that we're living in a pornographic culture. And the reason I say that is because part of dealing with the roots of pornography are acknowledging the fact that we have been desensitized to it, and acknowledging the fact that my problem with pornography, let's say that there's a pornography scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is, full on, I'm engaging in, the worst examples and extremes of.
So I just want to pause right there and explore this idea of what a 10 could be, right? Did you know that the United States is the #1 consumer, the #1 demand of child trafficking? And not only, so it goes to this idea of desensitization. Because we are so desensitized from a young age, remember the average age is between 11 and 12 of first pornographic exposure. By the time you get to, your adolescent years, your late adolescent years, your young adulthood, midlife, and your golden years, how much more, if you don't deal with this problem, has the desensitization gotten? How much more has that line moved, right? Between this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. It might start off already at like a level 7 because of your first time exposure that you watched was extreme and hardcore. And so that from that point, you need even more and even more to get the same benefit, so to speak. So of course we're going to see more child trafficking in the United States. Of course we are, because we're so desensitized to it. We have, for example, right, we have just a few years ago Cardi B's WAP song, which, if you know what it stands for, I don't even need to explain it, but tell me that is not pure pornography in those lyrics. And then the performance at the award shows, pornography. And we're so desensitized to it that it's just mainstream. It's not even a big deal anymore. So how much more has the line blurred? How much more are we passing from a young age to what's considered normal or okay or hardcore or even more? Those definitions are changing.
Pornography. Well, I think culturally, we probably live every day around a 3 or 4, just in commercials and just in, and just in the things that we become desensitized to. And so if I'm living at a 3 or 4 and a 5 or a 6 really doesn't bother me anymore, then when I get to a 9, my goal in dealing with somebody who's at a 9 is not to say, come back to a 5 or 6. My goal with them is to say, I want you to recognize not just that this is an issue, but that even those things that are down here in the areas that we're not even bothered by are issues. Not so that the person becomes just afraid of looking around, but so that the person becomes aware of their need for Christ to cleanse their minds, not just of the website where I'm watching pornographic sex, but also of my lack of sensitivity to those everyday examples of pornography that are around me, because to the degree that I go on accepting them and am no longer bothered by them, to that degree, I'm setting myself up so that the leap from that 5 to that 9 is a very short leap.
When I was researching for this video, I came across Pornhub's website and their statistics for a year in review, right? And it showed the top searches, and one of the top things that was being searched for on this list was transgenderism, transgender pornography. And it's this exact reason that there's nothing natural about the porn industry. There's nothing natural about it. We're already so desensitized that we can see on in pride parades these transgender flag waving individuals who are dressed in straight up BDSM gear, walking each other on leashes, and there's children present at these parades. The porn industry is dangerous, not only to the child trafficking, not only to the viewer via addiction, but also to pushing ideologies that are perverted, that are dangerous, and that lead to more and more child victimization.
And it's not just so that I won't leap over into the worst of pornography, but it's so that I can understand the dignity inherent in human beings made in the image of God, and how my embrace of a pornographic understanding of my fellow man, my fellow woman, is the embrace of the destruction of their dignity. So that if I see a young woman who is presenting herself in a pornographic way, and that's not bothering me, I've just said something about the dignity of that woman as made in the image of Christ.
There's so much to be said about the desensitization of this pornographic culture, so that, just like he said, so that when you see a woman in front of you and she's being overtly sexual in the way that she dresses, it's like not even a big deal anymore, because you need more and more to see that as sexual. However, the truth of the matter is, you are already making an internalized judgment of her, that of course she's a sexual being, of course having her boobs out and her butt cheeks out of her pants is totally normal. She's a sexual object, of course, whether you're consciously thinking that or not. So it removes the gravity of the fact that that person has dignity, that person is an image bearer of God, and that they're not just existing to pleasure someone. And that last point of not viewing people made in the image of God is ever the more present, not only with somebody that you're speaking to, but the people that you're watching in these videos. I want to show you guys a clip of a young woman sharing her experience with having videos on Pornhub.
And like I said, my videos had over 8 million views. You cannot imagine the amount of fear that you have when that many people have seen non-consensual videos of you, leaving the house. It was very hard for me. Like I said, I took a leave of absence from my job. I've been here over 16 years and I have a perfect record. I worked very hard to build my professional reputation, and to have it all destroyed, and Pornhub to just not care when I contacted them multiple times. And it was not until I filed a civil suit pro se against them and that article came out in the New York Times that suddenly my content disappeared. My name is Victoria Gailey. I live in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I'm a victim of sex trafficking under the legal definition in Tennessee and the United States. I've had numerous non-consensual pornographic images and videos of me posted on Pornhub.com. Beginning in 2018, I found the videos and reported them to Pornhub. Many of the videos were labeled teen and were clearly of a person that was drugged and or intoxicated, as evidenced by the occurrences in the videos. Most of these videos were made by an ex of mine on a trip that we took to Las Vegas, Nevada. Upon finding these videos in 2018, the first thing I tried was to flag them. This led me nowhere, and the videos were not removed. The next thing I tried was to report the videos. I first found that you had to create an account in order to do so. I had to provide my full name and my email address. I was hesitant as I wasn't the type of person that watched porn or subscribed to anything like that. I didn't really want my name or my email address associated with it. However, I reluctantly set up the account and began to try to record the videos. In 2018, I recorded approximately 30 videos. Only 3 of those videos were removed at that time. I have been undergoing cognitive processing therapy and making leaps and bounds in my recovery, but this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to face in my life. At times, I was suicidal. After 16 years with one law firm as a paralegal, I had to take a leave of absence as I could no longer function on a daily basis, nor make it through even one day at work. I left my house. I moved in with my mother for approximately 4 weeks so she could help me care for my children. I have a 16-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter with Down syndrome. I also suffered from severe anxiety and fear. I didn't feel safe. I was having intense nightmares, irritability, anger, embarrassment, and physical symptoms such as pounding heart, nausea, etc. I lost at least 20 to 30 pounds. I couldn't eat. I was very sick. In August of 2020, when my memories began to return, I began contacting Pornhub again regarding these videos. Upon visiting their website, I found that there had been many more videos made over that 2 to 3 year period. I reported many videos, including the ones claimed by Vicki Lust. There were approximately 60 to 65 videos, and these were made by my ex, Brandon. It was not until after December 2020 when I filed a civil lawsuit against them, pro se. I emailed them a copy, and the article came out in the New York Times titled The Children of Pornhub, that they have now at least temporarily suspended these videos. They are, of course, all over the internet now, having been downloaded by who knows how many users and on a plethora of other websites. I will never be able to remove these videos. There were over 8 million views just on Pornhub alone. To think the amount of money that Pornhub has made off of my trauma, date rape, and sexual exploitation makes me sick to my stomach. As stated in the New York Times article that I mentioned, I too feel like Pornhub has become my human trafficker, and they have been relentless in doing so. The background profile photo for Vicki Lust prior to August of 2020, when I reported it to the police, was a full body photo of myself naked with only a mask across my nose and part of my eyes, similar to a Mardi Gras mask. I have been recognized in public by many people who wouldn't say from where and tormented emotionally. If it weren't for the help of my amazing therapist and her cognitive processing therapy, I would not be here before you today. But I refuse to be a victim any further. I will advocate for myself and for all of the other victims who may not be able to or may not want to stand up, or who may have committed suicide, as we will never know. I appreciate being allowed to participate in this process and the possibility of affecting change and or holding this company accountable.
When you are watching these videos, there is this smoke screen, sort of, this distance, because you assume that everyone on there is there because they want to be, or they put it there on purpose. But as you can see, that is not the case. Sure, you can look at maybe major film studios that are recognizable and it somehow indicates that this person is not being exploited, which I would argue against that. But just in the realm of, you don't know if that person's being trafficked or abused and exploited in that way, you have no real idea. The verification that goes into these videos is so lax that many people on there are under the age of 18, or like this woman did not agree to be on there. And when they go to remove it, it's a fight. It's a fight that they didn't ask for, and it causes psychological torment. So on this whole note of, is it really harmful? Is it really not a big deal? I don't know if it was this video or another one of the same woman discussing it, but she brought up the point that the comments on the videos were degrading. They were laughing at her. This is someone who is clearly in the videos under the influence. They can't consent. And the viewers, not only the person that put the videos up, but the people who are watching and engaging, are aiding and embedding in this woman's destruction. So it is not victimless, and it warps the viewer's perception of the female body, of the woman who is made in the image of God and has dignity. In those moments, you are literally a voyeur to an abusive situation, and you're getting such sexual gratification from that. And how many videos are you watching that seem harmless, that seem consensual, but in fact, those women in those videos are drug addicted. They were vulnerable, and now they have no more options. Now they can't get a regular job because of the fact that they participated in this. They no longer view themselves as worthy of dignity, and you are aiding and abetting in their destruction too. So there's just so much wrong with the pornographic messaging in our culture, and it's worth discussing whether or not you call yourself Christian or not religious or whatever it is. It's time that we start fighting this new drug. It is destroying young men's perception of reality from a very young age and causing this massive desensitization to the point where now you don't even know or really care that much that maybe the woman that you're watching in that film is not there consensually. And if she is, you don't care that this image bearer of God, this human that is worthy of dignity, is self-exploiting and for your gratification, for your entertainment, and for the pocketbooks of those who are benefiting from it. So just some food for thought there. Even from a secular perspective, this is a very dangerous thing that we have going on. And my last thought is going back to the point that I made earlier about transgenderism. As I mentioned earlier, this ideology of transgenderism is being reflected in Pornhub's top searches. So it's only rational to assume that that connection is why we are seeing so much of this in the mainstream now, because we're seeing so much of porn in the mainstream now too. And we are being exposed and desensitized from a very young age when it comes to all of what pornography has to offer, but especially the transgender movement. If you want to know more about this rise in child grooming, I recently did a video about Jeffrey Marsh, who is a TikToker that a Muslim mother called out, and then for calling him out received death threats. And I go into a little bit of that link between child grooming and transgenderism. So if you want to know more, then check out this video and let me know what you think. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. And as always, God bless.